Mr. Mandela spent 27 years behind bars for his activist activities. Many of those years were spent in a notorious island prison. Mariama Diallo joins us now with more details. Mariama.
Well, thanks, Vincent. Robben Island has a long history as the place where South Africa's political prisoners were once jailed. Now it's best known as the prison where Nelson Mandela was incarcerated.
Robben Island is located in the southwestern part of South Africa, a 17-hour drive from Johannesburg and just a few kilometers offshore from Cape Town. It's a tourist attraction now, but its history as a place of oppression goes back centuries. Professor Sulayman Nyang is with the African Studies Department at Howard University.
I think it's a very important way of keeping the memory alive. Museums play an important role in doing that. Robben Island experience is just one of hundreds, if not thousands around the world, where human beings are trying to preserve the memories, the images, the objects that underscore the human experience.
Robben Island was used to hold political prisoners as far back as the 1600s, but its modern reputation dates primarily to South Africa's apartheid era. Carol Thompson from Northern Arizona University in the United States was an anti-apartheid activist during the 1960s.
Robben Island is a symbol of oppression and just tremendous suffering by everyone who was incarcerated there.
By everyone, Thompson means a long list of political activists, including Jacob Zuma, the current South African president, Govan Mbeki, father of former President Thabo Mbeki, and Walter Sisulu, a former African National Congress's activist.
When I started in Robben Island,
Christo was posted at Robben Island as a prison warden in 1978. Having come from a rural farming background, he says he didn't know much about one of the prison's most famous inmates, Nelson Mandela.
After a month and a half work on Robben Island, one of my uncles asked me, "Have you seen Mandela?" I said, "Yes, he's just a prisoner on Robben Island. He was just a normal prisoner like all the others. He was not somebody special for me at that stage." And the somebody special for me on Robben Island was Walter Sisulu.
Mandela spent decades in prison cell number 46664. He was jailed in 1964, tried for treason and sabotage, and sentenced to life in prison. Yet, as Christo tells it, he rose above his surroundings.
I asked Mandela one question: "Don't you hate the white people of South Africa, what they've done to you?" He said to me, "Mr. Brandt, you know, I can never hate the white people. I can hate the system which was in place to put oppression and brainwash the white people of South Africa, because mostly my friends were all white."
I obviously grew up at a time when it was illegal to even talk about Nelson Mandela.
Hlonipha Mokoena, an anthropology professor at Columbia University in New York, grew up in South Africa during apartheid. She says Mandela was incarcerated for so long, she had no idea what the man looked like.
As a child, you basically created this image of in your mind of a person who was larger than life, you know, who was somewhere out there in prison, but you couldn't even visualize who he was because the pictures of Nelson Mandela were also banned under apartheid.
When Mandela was released from prison in 1990, Alvin Andrews was working as a cameraman for ABC TV. He says he waited for hours alongside hundreds of other journalists for Mandela to walk out.
I remember as Mandela got to the gate, I was picked up by somebody, and it was my sound man, who put me on his shoulder and ran forward. And all of a sudden, I found myself over Madiba himself. And Mandela turned and he kind of looked up. And I think the look in his face, I think made him realize that his life was going to be changed forever.
And as Mandela's life changed, South Africa changed with it. A fact brought home, perhaps, by the sight of tourists treading the ground where men once spent their lives behind bars. Mariama Diallo, VOA News.
Vincent, I have goosebumps just looking at that story again. Can you imagine spending decades in this place? I can't, and I don't think anyone can.